What's up, guys?
What's up? Today we got NFL, UFC, and then we got some MLB. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to start off with some NFL trade buzz. It's been a little slow this week, past couple weeks actually. First thing we want to talk about is AJ Brown. There's been a bunch of trade rumors swirling around. Hurt Sirianni and AJ Brown. Obviously, that dynamic was a little fractured, not just last season, but it seems like the past two seasons. Doesn't seem like they're going to be running it back with that same trio. They had a stacked team last year, didn't win any playoff games, and I think that's real indicative about what's about to happen here. So I do think he's going to be getting traded. He is signed through 2029. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought he was going to get traded last year before the trade deadline. That's what the rumor mill was saying, and that didn't end up happening. But I just think he is not going to be an Eagle before the season starts. At some point, a few years ago now, the Titans waited until draft night to trade A.J. Brown. So I could see something happening like that again with the Eagles. They'll probably get a first rounder for him. Outside of that, maybe a third or a fourth. I'm not too sure. He's not going to go for much because of his age. You're also dealing with the drama that comes with him. He's kind of a selfish player to me. And he just brings a lot of toxicity with him. That Eagles locker room just seems super toxic. So I think where he would go, that's the toughest question. Who would want him and who would want to give up that much, because he also has a lot of money going with him. But yeah, I think that train has ran its course in Philadelphia. I think Sirianni is kind of done with him. Just how Sirianni is, he's kind of an asshole, but he's a great football coach, great head coach, and he's a macho man. It's kind of his way or no way. And you like that old school mentality from a head coach. And AJ Brown just doesn't fit that well with it if he's not getting the ball or if he's not in the game plan. But if I'm AJ Brown, I'm in a great spot in Philadelphia. As long as we're winning, who cares if I get stats? I'm already getting paid a crap ton of money. So why am I going to sit here and be a diva and complain about it? So I've thought about this for a while now, and I was wanting AJ Brown to potentially come to the Texans at some point, or see AJ Brown go to the Bills or the Broncos. They ended up getting Jalen Waddle. So I don't think he would be a good fit for those organizations, quite frankly.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. And then you add on top of that that the Eagles just traded for Hollywood Brown. We said he'd be a great wide receiver three. Well, he'd still make a darn good wide receiver two. You've got Devontae Smith over there. You've got Saquon Barkley. So the offense isn't going to hurt for anything, especially when you look at the usage that A.J. Brown's been getting the past couple of years. Obviously, you're going to sacrifice a little bit with the big body that he provides. He's a really good deep threat, makes a lot of great moves in open space. But you've got Devontae Smith, who's definitely an elite deep threat as well. It's a different type of wide receiver, but you still have plenty of offensive power on that side of the ball. So that's definitely not something I would foresee as one of their concerns when you're thinking about trading AJ Brown. We'll get into trade proposals here soon, but we're thinking a similar comp would be to the Jalen Waddle trade that just happened. Additionally, what else we have for trade buzz is Myles Garrett. You want to talk about that?
Came out earlier today or yesterday. My days are kind of mingled this week. But it was reported that the Browns reworked Myles Garrett's contract. And so that freed up a lot of money, and it makes it a very trade-friendly move for the Browns. Ultimately, of course, the Browns are saying, we 100% confidently can say our plans are not to trade Myles Garrett. Of course, they're going to say that, and they made it a very important point during the press conference. I think they brought it up 3 times. We're not trading Myles Garrett. We're not trading him. We're not trading him. Usually when a team or an organization, or just in general, somebody is trying to get you away from whatever they're thinking about doing, they're going to deny, deny, deny. So I'm not going to believe anything the Browns say. Unfortunately for the fans, they got to deal with this on a day-to-day basis. I don't believe the Browns. Their team is in devastation. They've got to do something drastic. You got Myles Garrett. Of course, he can do so much and so many wonders for your organization and for your fan base, but he's not going to win you a Super Bowl. So you got to get what you can from him. And a trade, if they made a trade to give away Myles Garrett, just imagine what they could get in return for him. That could completely change the Browns' trajectory in the coming years. So I think it's very interesting. I'm not believing the, oh, we're not trading them stuff. They are probably very interested and their ears are completely open to trade offers. What do you think?
Yeah, how can you not? Just looking at what the Browns have in front of them, you've got Shadur Sanders. Maybe you make a different move at quarterback, but what else do you really have going for you? You're not going to contend for a championship this year. Myles Garrett, he's at the peak of his trade value right now. He just broke the sack record. He did that as a Cleveland Brown. I think you can be happy with that. But just like you said, he's not going to win you a Super Bowl, especially not with what you're putting out on the field there with him. So I think it would just be bad business, bad management to not trade Myles Garrett at this point. What else do you have? Like, what else are you going to do? You think some changes that you're going to make, obviously not in the offseason, in the draft, that's going to put you all over the top, that's going to get you to the promised land? It's just not going to happen. So I don't understand. Like I just said, how can you not trade Myles Garrett at this point? Again, he's at the top of his trade value. You've got to make that move. You're gonna have plenty of suitors.
One suitor I can foresee happening, doubt it will though, is the Dallas Cowboys swooping in, taking the NFL sack leader Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns. Now, we all know Jones, he's always talking like he's a straight shooter. Maybe out in the oil fields in West Texas he is. But when it involves the Dallas Cowboys and anything NFL related, whatever he says usually does not come to fruition. So, how about this, Jones? You go ahead and just be a straight shooter. You can give your 2 first rounders this year, number 12 and number 20. I think that is perfect quality first round picks that you can send to Cleveland. On top of that, you can send a second rounder in next year's draft and a third rounder in next year's draft for Myles Garrett. And let's go with Jerry Jeudy as well, because I think Jerry Jeudy, nobody in Cleveland really wants him there anymore. They had a lot of hope for him. He was a prospect that had a lot of high upside. They really wanted him to succeed in that offense, and he just disappeared. He'd show up a game or two a season, and then the rest of the season just wasn't there, wasn't involved. So, Jerry, be a straight shooter. Now you look on this from the aspect for the Cowboys. They already have Quinnen Williams. They got Rashawn Gary, right? Is that his first name?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And then you have Myles Garrett in there with them. Yes, you still have a second rounder this year, and you got a couple other draft picks you can use to reach the other levels of the defense and the linebacker core and the secondary. But think of your defensive linemen: Quinnen Williams, Sean Gary, and the best of all, Myles Garrett. Those three in themselves on the field together can cause so much havoc and trouble for the opposing offenses that it would relieve so much pressure for coverage and with the linebacker group and with the secondary group. It would relieve so much pressure from them. So that's one of the many benefits. Here's another benefit. You have, and this is for the Dallas Cowboys' offense and their passing game. George Pickens, you got CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb got hurt last year towards the beginning of the season, and he really didn't do too much whatsoever. George Pickens, he had a breakout year. They franchise tagged him. But you saw how much not having CeeDee Lamb in the offense hurt. They were flying through guys in the receiving room to see, okay, which one can keep us afloat before CeeDee Lamb comes back. And really nobody did. Flournoy, he did all right. I guess I'm saying his name right. I don't remember.
Yeah, you got it.
Anyways, the guy, I'll call him Flournoy did pretty well. There we go. That's his name, Flournoy. He did all right, but he's not going to scare anybody on the defense. So maybe you can get Jerry Jeudy in that receiving room behind CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. At the worst, you got a solid wide receiver 3 who could play behind those guys, learn a lot from them, kind of build upon whatever they're doing and grow with them, and they can teach them a lot of stuff. And I think that would be very beneficial for Jerry Jeudy as well as the Dallas Cowboys offense. Yes, it might be a little too much for Myles Garrett to some people, not to me. He is a franchise-changing player, especially when you got all the other pieces as the Cowboys do.
Yeah, it's a little selfish of me, but I definitely love the trade. I think it's perfect to have no notes on it. I think a move like this would be definitely a vintage Jerry move. It's definitely not anything that we've seen him do in the last 20 some years. But just like you said, Miles Garrett just completely changes the culture, the environment, and the title aspirations of this team. He's definitely an addition that is going to take you from a middle of the pack team to put you right in the title conversation. And that's exactly where the ownership says they want to be. When they talk about busting the budget and stuff like this in the offseason and all in, these are the type of moves that not just the Cowboys fan base, but the rest of the NFL is expecting you to make. And then you put Jerry Judy on top of that. It's perfect. I don't know that the Cowboys wouldn't go for something like this. Yes, you're risking it all for this year, but what are you waiting for at this point? Dak Prescott, he's in what, year 10? CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, the young O line that you have right now, the defense, it needs help. Yes, 100% in the cornerbacks, the DBs. But historically, what the Cowboys have struggled with in the last 20 some years has been their defensive line and interior defensive linemen and be able to stop the run. So I think just to move on from that, because we're having arguably the worst defense in the league, more specifically in the DB section. Like as soon as you shore that up, you're still going to have the same issues that you've had historically, which is your interior defensive line, and they've helped that with Rashawn Gary and Quentin Williams. But leaving no doubt is what you have to do at this point in the NFL, especially now that it's wide open. When we talk about contending teams in the NFL right now, you just have to have that overpowering ability. You look at the Seahawks, we didn't know it at the time, and a lot of the NFL fan base wasn't watching them, but they had amazing players at nearly every level. You had Witherspoon, you had Kenneth Walker, Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like you can go on and on with all that star power that they had on that team, and that's really what you have to do that's going to set you apart. Even though we're talking about a lot of those players weren't stars before the season, but you can definitely tell now that that's what they are. That's what you got to do. That's what we've seen from the Rams when they won, the Eagles when they won. Like all these recent Super Bowl teams, these recent victories in the last 10 years, they're all overpowered teams, with the exception of like some of those Patriot teams. But yeah, I think when you're talking about being in ownership, making moves like this is what's going to set you apart from the pack.
He's from the DFW area, so you'd be bringing him back home.
Yep. Next trade proposal we've got for you, it's going to be AJ Brown. This one was mine. Think we've talked about this before. I'm trying desperately to get a wide receiver over to the Ravens because Lamar, Minter, those guys over there, they need some help. So I'm thinking AJ Brown to the Ravens, along with a fourth round pick for a first and a third. You got AJ Brown, you talked about the drama, stuff like that surrounding him and his personality. He's signed through 2029. That's going to be a lot of money, a lot of contract cap space that's going to be taken up in this move. That's definitely going to affect his value. I'm thinking a first and third is going to be plenty to get him to get you into the AJ Brown sweepstakes. There's plenty of other teams that would be willing to make this move, but I think the Ravens definitely, when you look at that wide receiver core, you got Rashad Bateman, you got Zay Flowers. Do we really think Zay Flowers is a number one? Is that what we're supposed to be rolling with here? What do you think about that?
Definitely not Zay Flowers. He's a hit or miss. 1 week he's on, 1 week he's off. But I love that possibility. You look at these two teams, the Eagles and the Ravens, they're very similar teams. When you think about particularly their offense, quarterback, same style of play. Hurts, he's a dual threat quarterback. I would say Lamar Jackson is a better dual threat quarterback, even though Jalen has won a Super Bowl and Lamar hasn't. Jalen just seems to miss those easy passes and those throws and some of those reads that Lamar Jackson, we've seen him make year in and year out. Saquon Barkley in the backfield. Now you would have Derrick Henry, who is also his old former teammate from Tennessee. So he's got some familiarity there. And I think that would be a great spot for him. You look at the organizations such as the Rams, the Patriots, the Ravens. Those organizations are respected on their amazing histories in this NFL football league throughout the years. They're respected throughout the league with what they've done, and they've created amazing reputations. So for him to go into an organization such as the Ravens, I think that would be, if he was traded, like we think he will be traded, I think one of those prominent organizations such as the Ravens would be a great spot for him. And I also think he would be tight with Lamar Jackson. I could see A.J. Brown maybe tightening his ship a little bit and correcting his drama, keeping that drama away from Lamar Jackson. You know, Derrick Henry doesn't have drama. Hendrickson, who they just signed, he's got a little drama, but that has to do with contracts and getting paid. Outside of that, he's a hardworking athlete. You're thinking, okay, mentor. He came from the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. So that coaching tree, they don't put up with BS in a different way than Sirianni. They're going to be hard on you. They're stern, but it's a different type if I'm making any sense. So I think that'd be a great spot for him.
Yeah, if us civilians are seeing it, Lamar Jackson, yes, he has multiple MVPs. You've got Derrick Henry, who arguably should have had multiple MVPs. You can make plenty of excuses that we should be able to win with these guys, but at the end of the day, when you're looking around, if we can see that he needs a wide receiver one, you know dang well the ownership and coaching are seeing that as well. So definitely, if it's not AJ Brown, you've got to think the Ravens are looking to be making a move in that area here soon. But that's what we've got for y'all for NFL, unless you had anything else to add.
If I was A.J. Brown and I was getting traded to the Ravens, I would not get my hopes up until I sign the dotted line where it's official.
Yeah, you've got to think they don't go 0 for 2, but I guess it seems crazier things happen, so you never know. Next, we're going to get into some
Yeah.
UFC. This past fight night, we had Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. This was a match between two juggernauts. Ultimately, Movsar Evloev got the majority decision. It was a good fight by both fighters. Super impressive performance by Evloev. He's definitely next in line for Volkanovski. Obviously, Dana White wasn't too keen to admit that just yet, but you've got to assume that he's going to get it. 10 wins in a row in the UFC. This guy's undeniable. I really want to say Alexander Volkanovski clears, no doubt, but these guys are just getting better and better every year. Alexander Volkanovski is just getting older and older. Again, I'm going to hold off on my prediction here, but that's definitely going to be a really exciting fight to see. Pretty much the new guard versus the old, in my opinion. Then we got
Isn't he the
Michael
guy that
Venom.
said he does? Isn't he the guy that said he does what 1,000 push-ups a week or something, whenever he's training?
Yeah, he said something crazy like that. I don't know how much I'm buying into it, but he looks like he does a lot of push-ups, I
He
guess.
looks yoked.
Yeah, he's skinny jacked for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. Then I was just gonna say Michael Venom Page, he got his victory, a controversial one, not too much action there, but it's always good to see him pick up a win. More importantly, in the UFC, we wanted to go over next week's fight night. It's a huge one, Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer. It's gonna be an exciting matchup. Adesanya, in my opinion, if he loses this one, he needs to go ahead and retire. I'm not too high on Joe Pyfer. I think that he has a lot of potential, but ultimately, if he's in anywhere of the arena to be knocking out or embarrassing Israel Adesanya, like the guy's just got to hang it up at this point. 36 years old, he's done everything there is to do. He's reached the highest pinnacle of the sport. So my official prediction is that Adesanya gets the win again. I've eaten my words each of the last, I think, 3 times predicting this, but I'm thinking he picks it up this time. What are your thoughts on that fight?
As somebody who's just getting into UFC, I say that every week, but it takes a while to learn a new sport and really appreciate the cornerstones of the last decade, decade and a half in that respective sport. But when you think of, okay, who's the top fighters, who's the top faces in the UFC, Adesanya's got to be on that list over this last decade, just what he's been able to do. So I'd love to see Adesanya win. He is who I am betting to win. I love his style of play, his character that he has, the style bender, super cocky, but he backs it up usually. But a really likable guy as well and really motivational. I'm sure he's had like that clip that went super viral of him several years ago of when he was high up on that mountain. That's a great motivational speech and just a great clip for anybody who's struggling and who's wanting to compete. Ultimately, I want Adesanya to win. I don't even know Piper. So, like you were saying, you're kind of seeing that if Adesanya doesn't win this fight, that he just needs to hang it in and call it a career, which sucks, man, because he's one of the better fighters that we've seen this last decade. But what would you say his keys to victory would be?
Joe Piper is a power striker, so like for Adesanya to mix in some wrestling and stuff, I don't think it's gonna happen. But definitely the key would be to stay on the outside. He's going to have the longer reach than Piper. He needs to stay on the outside, stick his jab, use his kicks, use all of his tools. He has a deep tool bag. He can pretty much do everything from that outside range. That's what's gotten him to where he's gotten the pinnacle of the sport, like I said before. So he just needs to stay true to what he does, not fight Piper's fight, not let him get on the inside. Don't let him grind you against the fence. Keep moving, stay fluid. Pretty much just has to be that type of clean technical fight from him. Going to be wanting to make it dirty, grind on him, get on the inside, land that one shot that's going to take him out like Imavov did. So he saw that, he knew it could be done, and that's definitely what Piper's going to be hunting for. So that's definitely what Adesanya has to do, stay on the outside.
So his one of his strategies would be to get in there, get a quick punch, and then immediately escape.
Yeah, from his range, he can pretty much stick his jab and throw his kicks and stay out of Piper's range, if that makes sense. So that's what he's got to do.
Yes.
Next on the card, you have Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber. It's going to be a really exciting one. You got a former champion in Grasso going against Barber, who's looking for her first title shot. Had a lot of hype coming into the UFC, had aspirations of being the youngest UFC champion. Obviously, that didn't happen, but she definitely has a lot of steam behind her now. Has got a good win streak going, and yeah, it's going to be an exciting one. Grasso's still at the top of her game. I do think that Barber's going to be able to pull this one out and get the win. What are your thoughts on that one?
No thoughts. I don't know either of them.
Okay, that's a good opinion. Well, it's going to be a good one. It'll be a good fight for you to watch. Both these fighters have a couple years left in their career, I would definitely say. So they're good fighters to watch when not only being a new fan of UFC, but women's UFC. They'll put on a good showing for sure. Then you got Chiesa versus Nico Price. That'll be a good one. It's just like a clash of the two styles. Nico Price, great striker. Chiesa, one of the best on the ground. So it's going to be good one to see who wins out, who's able to fight their fight. So that is this weekend, 328. I think we're ready to get into some MLB opening day. We had Rangers versus the Phillies. Rangers, surprisingly to some people, took the L. What are your thoughts?
I know it is game one of 182 games in a season. So there's that. You got to have some optimism and just take it for what it is and with a grain of salt that this is the first time these players have actually been a real game outside of an exhibition match and spring training. But man, we saw no offense whatsoever, and that was the main problem going into the offseason. And the main worry for the fan base and for the organization was, can our offense get going? And the way the game went out was kind of a prime example of what the whole season was last year in its experience. Started out real slow. We got a couple hits, but we just couldn't get anything going offensively. Striking out, grounding out, and our offense was non existent until the ninth inning when Berger hit a 2-run bomb. And it was 5-2 at that point. You're like, okay, okay. We only have one out in the ninth inning. And then we had another guy get on base. And then another guy score. And you're really thinking, okay, we can actually come back and pull this off, even though our offense started out slow. Maybe they're finally getting it going. That didn't happen. That wasn't the case. Evan Carter, final out, and it was a ground out to first base. I'm thinking through the lineup. Brandon Nimmo didn't do anything. Wyatt Langford didn't do anything. Corey Seager didn't do anything. He had one hit, but by Corey standards, he didn't do anything. Jake Berger, he had a really solid game. He also had that 2-run home run in the ninth inning. So I'm feeling great about Berger. He's been really hot in spring training. So if we can keep him going for a whole season and a whole season's length, I'd be so ecstatic because that's what we expected from him last year. After that, McCutcheon, 1 for 2, batting .500 at age 39, 16th season, I think. He's just a great dude, Great guy to be in that locker room, veteran presence. He has done wonders in spring training. Hell, he just signed with us a few weeks ago. So just having him in that locker room can create such a great culture in that clubhouse. After him is Young. I was super high on Young for a couple years. In the last 2 years, he has just been injury riddled, injury prone, inconsistent. He's always chasing balls. So my optimism is starting to become pessimism with him. Josh Smith, he's one of our better hitters, one of our better players. He's come up really well in the organization and on the field the past couple of years, and he was our best hitter last year. So I'm not worried about him. He's going to get going. Our new catcher, Jensen, haven't heard too many good things about him. Didn't see too many good things from him today. And then we finished with Haggerty, I think. Haggerty is filling in for Evan Carter because Evan Carter doesn't do too well against left-handed pitchers. But overall, as a team performance, I don't think it was terrible. I know I'm sounding super pessimistic right now, but to score 3 runs and get some production on arguably the best left-handed pitcher in the game right now in Sanchez, you can't complain too much about that. It's just when the other team is hitting and they're doing really well offensively, I don't know what it is. It just really frustrates me when our offense doesn't do anything. So forget this game, the first month of the MLB season. If we can get hot and stay hot, then we have a really good shot of making the playoffs. I know it would be 4 months, 5 months away from playoff play. But statistically, over the last several years, whenever we start hot, we finish strong and get into the playoffs.
I completely agree. After the Rangers' performances the last couple of seasons, you definitely want to see them start off strong. Both the last 2 seasons, it seemed like coming off of their World Series win, like, oh, we're not performing good, but we have all the pieces there. We still have a chance to make the playoffs. The next season, all the way down to the end, oh, we might make it, until finally it's like, oh, I guess we can't make it. So it's like, we want to stay ahead. We want to stay in contention. You want to start off fast. You don't want another experience like that because 3 years in a row is brutal. So I completely understand what you're saying. At the end of the day, they got a lot of new pieces. You need Wyatt Langford to perform better. You need Jake Berger to stay consistent. He had a great game. You need Seager to perform like he's paid. He needs to perform like he's the best player on the team and separate himself from the pack and be the leader on the team. I know he's not a real big vocal leader, but he needs to just continue to lead with his performance like he has in the past. So, again, it's a long season, like you said. You never really know how it's going to turn out, but definitely, you know for sure you want this team to start off fast.
Especially after the past 6 months of not seeing your team play, and because they suck so much the year prior that they didn't even make the playoffs. So 6 months of no baseball. January, February's coming around. You start building some hype for the upcoming season. Free agency happened already. And so there's a lot of hype and optimism being built. And we knew what our struggles were. Our kryptonite last year was not having an offense. And then for our offense to be non-existent and look the same as it did all of last year. As a fan, it's just super frustrating. And us fans, we freak out. Sometimes a little too much and sometimes a little too unwarranted. So I know the Rangers can figure it out. I believe in Schumacher and what he's doing. There seems to be a new vibe and a younger feel in that clubhouse. So I think he's going to turn them around. I think he's going to set them straight and keep them going in line straight ahead. But I think the best news, even though we lost, the best news that came out of that game was Adolis Garcia did not even get on base, didn't get the chance to be on base. And I was so scared and so like, oh gosh, I hope he doesn't hit a homer on us. And luckily, he didn't hit a homer. Thankfully, he didn't even get on base. So I would say that's the best news that came out of that game for us today.
Rangers got the Phillies again this Saturday. It'll be a good one. Phillies will definitely have another opportunity, so we'll be watching out for that. You ready to get into our triumphant moments?
Let's do it.
Sounds good. Well, I'll start it off. Mine's going to be pretty simple. It was Evloev for all the reasons we said during that segment. 10 straight wins in the UFC. He could have got a title shot way sooner. He's continued to beat who they put in front of him. He's not the most active fighter, but he's consistent. So you know what to expect when he gets out there. He's undefeated at this point in his career. Only a handful of fighters are able to do so. The Ilya Toporias, Hamzat Chimaevs of the UFC. So he's definitely cut from that cloth at this point. Super triumphant to be able to just continue to keep stacking no matter all the missteps, delays, time off, just continuing to come back and put that performance out every time you step into that cage is impressive enough. So super triumphant.
Yeah, doesn't matter who they are. If they are successful in any sports competition, especially in the UFC, when everything's pretty much just being thrown against you, and to come out on top and to be undefeated still, that's super triumphant. My triumphant moment is going to be from earlier this week, sticking with the Texas Rangers and the MLB. I'm going with Carter Baumler. He got the nod to be welcome and invited into the show. He made opening day roster for the Texas Rangers, and it happened in an unorthodox way. Our manager had a mound visit, and so he broke the news that Baumler was making the roster on the mound during a game earlier this week in an exhibition match, which you don't really see that often, hardly ever. So just to see that moment caught on camera live during a game, it's pretty awesome because these players, particularly pitchers, they've got to do so much. They have to go through so much. You just can't be a great college pitcher and then all of a sudden, oh, you're going to be starting in the MLB the next season unless your name is Paul Skeens. That won't happen. You've got to go through a farm system. You got to go through the minor leagues to finally get your chance to play at the MLB level and the pro level. So for him to finally have gotten to be able to do that and break through all those barriers and be told in front of thousands of people that, hey, you made the opening day roster. Congrats, man. Just a smile on his face and the teammates around him. Wyatt Langford, Josh Young, Josh Smith, they were all huddled up at the mound, and they heard the news of him making the roster as well. Just you could see it on everybody's faces. They were super excited and happy for him. So that's super triumphant.
I completely agree. Those moments are definitely always the best. It just reminds me of like the college ones when the walk-ons get the scholarships and stuff like that. It just completely reminds me of that. Like just like you said, obviously a lot of these people are D1 talents, the best at what they do when they were in college, but it just takes another level of commitment to be able to do that in the pros for the MLB, especially for the pitchers. So super amazing, super great achievement for that guy, and definitely going to be keeping eye out for him whenever he steps on the mound. So it's a good one.
Y'all go ahead and make sure to watch us on YouTube, drop a follow, drop a like, and we'll see y'all in the next one.
See ya.